I thought I was done. I thought by talking about the ages that we visit and then listing all the crimes of parenting committed by Atris, I was very much done with the Myst series. You see, with the way Myst plays out, with small cutscenes and journals between vast sections of just playing, a full exploration of the plot of each game is not really a worthwhile endeavor. I could go in hard with every single bit of lore, background info, and context provided by the journals, but in the end, I could just as well give you a short sentence that is very much the gist of the matter. Which is what I did with the exploration of the ages and the life and crimes of Atris. Summarize and focus on the important bits. But there's been something in the back of my head for weeks now. Some part of analyzing the Myst series that I just can't let go of. And so, here we are, to talk about the wasted potential of the Myst series. How bigger and better was abandoned for a cookie mold. To forego any opportunities or even ambition of improving on the formula and just stick to the tried and true. Mostly to maximize profit, I suppose. But let's get down to it. Myst was a landmark success, but it was also a technical nightmare, and Cyan had to pull all the stops and use any and all tricks to ensure they delivered the game as we know it, despite the many technical limitations of the time. I mentioned this before, but they did have to ensure to write out the data into the CDs in a way that every file corresponding to an age was adjacent to all the other data of the same age, and I mean this physically on the CD, so that the burgeoning CD drives of the age could look that stuff up and not hold up the player in endless loading screens. It's the kind of technical limitation that we can scarcely comprehend these days, given how much computers have advanced since the 90s. After Myst, Cyan set their sights on Riven, and Riven was everything a sequel needed to be. It was bigger, it was better, it was more complex, it improved upon every aspect of Myst, and one thing it could let go of, which had been another one of those technical limitations, is the hub world design. Myst had to be a small island with, essentially, doors to other smaller areas, to ensure loading was as fast as possible. Riven, on the other hand, was big and bold. Gone was the hub world or the hub island, and instead we have multiple landmasses that are interconnected, with several traversal options between them, and the need, because of plot and puzzles, to travel to and from them several times. Every island in Riven has much to give, and sometimes you gotta go back and forth to get those things. It gave the feeling of being in a world much, much larger than Riven actually was, especially given how much eye candy there is in Riven, how much context and story you get just from observation. But, and there's always a but, after Riven, and in an industry where publishers love to box developers in so they only make the game that made them famous and a lot of money, Cyan said, we're done. We're not making any more Myst games. We don't want to be the guys who just do Myst games. But the publisher had a taste of that Myst cake, and they wanted more. And so, as I covered in another video, it got shopped to different developers, and it landed back in Cyan's hands for Myst V. When Myst released, they sold about 500k in 6 months, and the number continued to grow, and in fact, Myst is still the highest selling entry in the entire series. But when Riven released, in that same 6-month period, they sold over 1 million copies. So the initial release of Riven far surpassed the original. And yet, despite that success, no game in the series continued pushing the ball forward the same way Riven did. Instead of continuing this evolution of the concept, the Myst series regressed, reverted back to the blueprint of the first title, with a small hub world with gates to other places. Myst 3 had Jinanin opening the door to Voltaic, Edana, Amateria, and Narayan, each age a small part of the overall puzzle and more or less a giant puzzle room with one big puzzle broken down into smaller chunks, be it moving the electric eagle thing in Edana or the different sections of the rail in Amateria. Myst 4 is even worse, with fewer ages. Your hub is Tamana, and from there you go to Haven and Spire, the prison ages, which are very much one-note ages, with a single theme going through them. A lifeless rock in a stormy night, and a dense, sweaty jungle. Then you go to the last age, Serenia, for the finale, and that's just a handful of rooms. Then, of course, Cyan had a chance to end the series in their own way, and instead of pulling out all the stops and doing another Riven, something to propel the series forward one last time, they did the same damn thing as everybody did before them. The most pathetic of all the hub worlds. Literally a tiny patch of grass in a swamp with gateways to other places and very sparse empty ages where you hunt for pedestals while listening to David Ogden Stiers wax poetically. And hey, I love David Ogden Stiers. I love him. He's a great actor. One of the greats. He will always be missed. But that's it. It feels like wasted potential. That's not saying the games are bad in any way, but you had the opportunity to push the envelope, to take the series beyond. In some ways they did, but only on the technical side of things, under the hood. One example is Myst 4, where the team behind it vastly improved the pre-rendered scenes by making them fully animated. Waterfalls move, trees sway in the wind, and clouds move in the sky. But in terms of gameplay, I can't help but feel like a missed opportunity, given two of the teams involved. The first one, the developers of the Journeyman project, a series of games that are fairly big already and had entries without a hub world, given that you can freely jump to and from different time periods. By the way, the Journeyman project is a series about time travel. They're pretty good. In any case, Presto had already built games on a similar scale to Riven, so I find it so odd that they would choose to make just, well, a Myst clone. Maybe they had restrictions on what they could do, but it feels like a waste not to bring their expertise to leave their mark on the Myst series and again take it forward. But in the end, suppose Presto Studios was the equivalent of the substitute teacher. They came in, they filled in, they did what was asked of them without rocking the boat all that much, and then moved on to, well, close down within a year. The substitute teacher excuse doesn't work for the second team here. And no, it's not the Ubisoft crew that handled Myst 4, but Cyan Worlds, in their handling of Myst 5. I'm already annoyed that they decided to continue the Uru storyline, which meant a crazy Yisha and the Burrow, which comes out of left field for anyone that didn't waste their time with Uru, and knew Yisha just as the lovable young lady she is in Myst 4. And yeah, I don't like Uru. I think I've made that clear a few times in the past. In any case, these are the creators of Myst and Riven, and this was marked to be the last game in the series. The end to the whole shebang. And instead of choosing to go out with a bang, with a Riven-like game with a vast explorable world full of mysteries to uncover, we got the most hub-centric game in the series. Then again, Uru was a spectacular failure that put the company in a bad place, and so Myst 5 was a rushed product using leftover assets and concepts from Uru and made primarily, well, to appease the publisher and probably just put a final nail in the Myst coffin. So what I'm saying is, it wasn't made as a love letter to the series or a worthy end of it, but a quick cash grab by a developer that didn't want to do any other Myst games and had no choice but to do so. So they phoned it in and simply did Uru 2.0. And so, in the history of the Myst series, Riven stands out as an anomaly, a moment of brilliance, where the developers saw what had been done before and realized, hey, we can use our expertise and make something that's more, something that's bigger and more complex. And it wouldn't be until Abduction, their spiritual successor to the Myst series, that they would once again have a moment of brilliance. Abduction is a combination of both the hub world design and the bigger world, as explored in Riven. You start in a given location, and from there, travel to other places. But with the way Abduction plays, where the central mechanic is about transposing chunks of one world into another, literally swapping them out, you end up mixing the worlds together and creating a strange mesh of realities. And so, depending on the sequence you're on, any of the places you visit could be considered the hub world. I only wish they had done something like that for Myst. The series deserved a better send-off than Myst V could ever hope to be. And so I salute the ambition and dedication and passion that built Riven, and lament that it was the best we would ever get. And with that, I think I'm finally done with the Myst series. Or at least this retrospective. At least publicly. I'll continue to rage about Uru in the comfort of my home, talking to the four walls around me. Business as usual.